What's up, guys? David O here. Welcome to the show. Today, we're talking about the mindset of a successful agent investor. Guys, real estate and so many other businesses, there's a quote from Tony Robbins that I got. It's 80% mindset and 20% mechanics. Success is 80% mindset and 20% mechanics. What does that mean? That means you can have the best CRM, you could have the best leads, you can have the best marketing, but if your mindset's wrong, you'll still find a way to lose. Today, we're talking about the winning mindset that separates the top 5% of agents and investors from everybody else, and how you can start thinking like a top producer before you become one, which is 100% necessary. We've got to believe it, we've got to think it before we can even become that, right? So, real estate's a mental game first, money is second. Money is what comes after we've won the mental game. This is a big thing. You are your own biggest asset, or you can become your biggest liability. I mean, that's the choice we have as agents, as investors, as business owners, right? One of my mentors always says the most valuable real estate is the 6 inches between your ears. I love that quote because that's everything, guys. That's everything. You don't. Another quote that I like is, "You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits and your mindset." So every successful agent investor has learned to handle rejection. They've learned to stay consistent through uncertainty. They've learned to believe in long-term growth even when the short-term results aren't there, right? Um, there's a quote that says the business doesn't get easier, you get stronger. And so there's all these YouTubes and Instagrams and TikTok shorts that out there that show us, this is an easy business idea. This is an easy way to get leads. This is an easy way to do deals. And the truth is there is no easy way. I mean, that's the hard truth. The business is hard no matter where you are. But the quote is this: the business doesn't get easier, you get stronger. So the reason why these people are putting out these reels and things that just show how easy it is to make all this money, because they've done the mental work already. They're so strong that the business seems easy to them. But it's not easy. If you take anybody off the street and you try to show them how to do this business, even though you're generating money and making tons of commissions or wholesales or flips or whatever you're doing in real estate, and you're successful, you take somebody off the street and plug them in, they're not going to have an easy time doing it, right? They've got to do all the mental gymnastics, all the mental exercises to get stronger before they have that same experience. So there's five core mindsets of successful agents and investors. Number one is having a growth mindset. Okay, so we everything in nature is either growing or dying. You can look out at there in the world, and the trees and the plants and the animals, they're either growing or they're dying. There's no staying the same. Nothing's ever staying the same. Change is always inevitable. So one of the things we have to do with a growth mindset is we have to see failure as feedback. What can I learn from this deal instead of why did this happen to me? That's an important question to pivot to. What can I learn from this failure instead of saying, why does this happen to me? We have to keep sharpening our skills. People listening to these podcasts or reading books, they are sharpening your skills. So you're already probably in a growth mindset, and you just got to remember you got to stay in there. So keep sharpening your skills when it comes to learning and studying scripts and studying negotiation, studying marketing, studying investing. Those are all really important topics to keep growing in as you progress through your career. Now, the second thing that we need to focus on is consistency over intensity. Consistency over intensity. Success isn't about having one big week where you go all out and you spend 80 hours, hammering it or going through the grind. It's just about showing up every day and being consistent, right? So if I block out an hour to do my lead gen, if I block out an hour to do my follow-ups, if I block out an hour of doing my training time, I can have an incredible successful week working 3 hours a day. Okay. 1 hour doing lead gen, 1 hour doing my follow ups, 1 hour doing training, and I do that 5 hours or 3 hours a day for 5 days a week, I've put in 15 hours of work this week, but I've been incredibly intentional with my time. And I'm going to have amazing results if I stay consistent with that. That's going to win long term way more than saying, hey, 1 week a month, I'm going to put in, 80 hours and then I'm going to take off the rest of the weeks, right? That's not a good plan for success. So consistency over intensity. The best agents and investors, they don't rely on motivation. Okay. Motivation is something that comes and goes. I wake up in the morning and I feel motivated to attack the day. That's great. But guess what? The other half of the time, you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to feel like you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to make it to the gym. You don't want to make your calls, all these things. This is where discipline is going to be way more powerful than motivation. So we've got to rely on a system. We've got to have a schedule that says, "Hey, this is what I'm doing every day no matter what." Okay? I have to think about that. I have to say this is what my week looks like. This is what my day looks like. I've got a calendar that I have literally the same week every single week. I have certain meetings, certain activities, certain blocks of time that I'm filling my bucket in different areas in my life and my business. And I do that every single week because it makes sure that I am consistent. It makes sure that I'm spending time with my family. It makes sure that I'm taking time for myself. It makes sure that I'm spending time in my business doing the right activities in my business is going to continue to grow my business and not kill my business, right? My business is only going to be growing or dying. I'm not going to have the same business I did yesterday. It's either growing or it's dying. So you got to make sure you're moving that ball forward. Um, the third thing here is to have an abundance mindset. Okay. So many people out there are so pessimistic and so dog eat dog that, if somebody over here succeeds, that's at the expense of me. Here's the deal. We have an abundance of wealth, abundance of resources in the United States of America today. We have an environment here that is better than any other environment in the history of mankind. The amount of abundance is available. There's enough business for everyone. And so this is something that I took, this is an idea that a mindset idea that I took very early on in my career as a real estate agent and investor. And it's collaboration over competition. I started seeing that, hey, I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm actually in collaboration with everybody. And so when I meet a broker that should be competing against me, when I meet an investor that should be competing against me, I decide to collaborate with them. I said, hey, how are you doing your deals? Here's how I'm doing my deals. And many times we come together and we'll do a deal together, right? And so you want to celebrate other people's wins, celebrate the other agents and investors that are winning around you. Build relationships with these people, not walls. Don't try to keep them out or keep them from stealing your ideas. Collaborate with them, because if you can share something with them that helps them succeed, you better believe they're going to want to share something with you that you don't know about that's going to help you succeed. And so there's more than enough for everybody to win. And that's something that's really important, is to have an abundance mindset. Fourth, you want to have an ownership mindset. So this is really important. We've got to stop blaming everything else. We got to stop being the victim when things aren't going our way. We've got to stop blaming the market. We got to stop blaming interest rates. We got to stop blaming our broker. We've got to take full responsibility for our pipeline and full responsibility for our results. If I didn't get the result that I wanted, I've only got myself to blame. Okay. So you got to ask yourself, what's in my control? Okay. It's only my actions. I can't control the market. I can't control the interest rates. I can't control what my broker says I can and cannot do. Right. So I've got to take action, and I got to take control of myself, which is the only thing. And I have to own everything that I do. All the results that I get, I've got to take full ownership. When one of my agents messes up and it costs me thousands of dollars, I take the ownership. I was in charge of that person, right? I don't blame them. Okay. How could I have done better? Should I have even hired this person? Should I have trained them better? I'm looking at myself whenever something comes up and not pointing a finger and saying, that was somebody else to blame or somebody else should take responsibility for that. Um, the fifth thing in the mindset series here is to have an investor mindset. Okay. You got to be in this business. You are a business owner. You are not an employee at your brokerage. You're not an employee. We own our own businesses. Each and every one of us agents and investors, we are running our own business. We're not some worker that shows up and clocks in. Okay. So we've got to have the business owner mindset. We've got to track our numbers, guys. Nobody, if you worked at some big company, what's going to happen is you're an employee and you go to work and you do your job, but then there's a whole other department with the chief financial officer, right, that is tracking your numbers for you. And they're going to come to you and say, "Hey, Dave, we love what you're doing, but here's what the numbers say. The numbers say we're not being profitable right now. We need you to change what you're doing." So as an employee, you have the benefit of having a whole department that is tracking all your numbers for you. Well, newsflash, we don't have CFOs at our real estate brokerages that are tracking our numbers, right? We're our own businesses, and sometimes we're the CEO, we're the chief marketing officer, we're the chief financial officer, we're the chief operating officer, we're everything, right? And so it's so important that we have that investor mindset that we're looking at, hey, what are we spending money on? What is our rate of returns? What do our numbers look like? And where are things not efficient here, and what can I change? So we've got to focus on the cash flow in the business, not just how many closings we're doing or how much stuff we're generating. We got to see what are we investing in that is not a good return in investment, and start making changes to our finances and our budgets. We've got to have that investor mindset, right? This mindset's going to turn agents and investors into wealth builders, not just salespeople. Yes, we have to be salespeople. Yes, we're in sales. Yes, we're in marketing, but we also got to be on the finance side of our businesses. Okay. So there's four things. We covered the five core mindsets of successful agents and investors. Number one, growth mindset. Number two, consistency over intensity. Number three, abundance mindset. Number four, the ownership mindset. And number five, the investor mindset. Those are all really important to have. But I want to dive into real quick the mindset killers. So these are things that are going to try to derail you. They're going to come up. Okay. So mindset killers are these: comparison, right? Comparison. So whenever we're going to compare ourselves to somebody else, that's going to be a killer, right? We should never be comparing ourselves to other people that are, we can compare ourselves to people that are more successful than us, and then we feel like, hey, we're not good enough, right? Or we can compare ourselves to people that are doing less business than us, and we can say, oh, we're really something here. We're way better. We're doing 5 times the amount of business as this other guy right here. That can also kill us, because that's going to get us complacent and think we've got it all figured out. So comparison, you get rid of comparison. The only thing you want to compare yourself to is, what did you do yesterday? What did you do last month? What did you do last year? Can you compare yourself to yourself in the past, and how are you going to grow? How are you going to make sure you're growing and you're beating that version of yourself that did 100 deals last year or 50 deals last year or whatever, right? So we got to get rid of comparison, unless you're comparing yourself to yourself. And then we've got to get rid of excuses. Okay. We can't ever make excuses. You can either have, I heard my coach tell me this one time. You can either have excuses or you can have results. You can have excuses or you can have results. Which one do you want? Do you want the results? Then you can't have the excuses. You got to get rid of all the excuses. Stop making excuses and start taking action to get you results, right? The other mindset killer is going to be fear. Okay. Fear of failing. Okay. And now fear is something that we're just not going to get rid of fear. Fear is something that's always going to be in our mind. It's what evolved over thousands of years to help us survive as humans, as humanity, right? We had to fear the saber-toothed tiger so that we could run away and not get eaten by it, right? So those things are going to happen in our minds. What we can do, however, is we can leverage the fear. So instead of saying, "Hey, what if I go into this opportunity and I fail?" I leverage the fear and say, "What if I don't even try it?" Right? What if I don't even try it? Then I'm guaranteed to fail. Or what if I try it and um, or what if I don't succeed at it and then I have to go back to having a part-time job or going back to being an employee somewhere, right? That was a bigger fear than me. When I got into real estate, yes, I was scared about failing in real estate, but what I was more scared of was having to go back to my corporate job for another 35 years. Like that was way scarier. So I leveraged fear in that situation to go after what helped me grow as a business owner. Another mindset killer is comfort, right? So we get so comfortable, when we start having success that I see a lot of people, all of a sudden the results start pulling back because you've kind of taken the pedal off of what's made you successful and now you're just taking it easy. You think you're in cruise control. And this goes back to that planning and that discipline of having things blocked out on your calendar. Like if you're not consistent at that, like you're going to fall back to comfort. I'm going to fall back to sitting on the couch and watching Netflix or going out and playing golf when I'm supposed to be generating my leads or following up my leads, right? Because that's not comfortable to do. And I'm successful, so I don't need to do that anymore. And that's a trap right there that will get you into the place where all of a sudden your business starts dying instead of growing, which we don't want to do. So these are the mental weeds: comparison, excuses, fear, and comfort. If you don't pull those out of your mindset, they will take over. They will start killing your business. They will start killing your mindset. So you want to replace these weeds with curiosity, ownership, courage, and hunger, right? So that's a big deal. So we do a lot of mindset work in our program at joincashflownation.com. If you guys want help, you guys want coaching through this, we offer that to people. Just go to joincashflownation.com and you'll get an opportunity to grab a free copy of our book, Investor Friendly Agent, and do a one-on-one call with me to have a quick consultation, see where you're at in business, see how I can help you, and see if we'd be a good fit to work together. Thanks for listening and have a blessed week.